Okay, let's get started with what I think you're going to find to be the best pot roast you've ever had. Let's start with looking at the ingredients. I'm going to try something different on this video. I'm going to use a red infrared or laser pointer to instead of putting my hands and arms into the video. First of all, the back left is the vegetables. I used about a cup and a half of celery, onion, and carrots cut about 3/4 inch, 1 inch cubes. Yes, you can add potatoes if you like, parsnips, whatever you like. I just use these 3 ingredients for today. Then next is the au jus gravy, a package of au jus gravy. And then beef stock. I like to try to use half and half unsalted, half regular with salt in it. And I have 2 quarts because what we're going to do, the amount we're going to use, it depends on the size of your pan. We're just going to bring the stock level up to the top of the beef. Then we're going to use coarse or fresh black pepper and kosher salt. And no, do not use table salt. Next, right in the middle here, I have a 2.5 pound Angus chuck roast. To the left of that, what I did is I took some butcher string and tied up a sprig of thyme and rosemary. It can be wet or dry. And I just like the string on it because it's easier to fish it out. But for the most part, it falls apart in there anyway. To the right of the meat, lastly, is 3 cloves of garlic. And what we're going to do with that, you notice that it is not peeled. We're just going to puncture it, put it in, because it's going to simmer for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours anyway. Okay, so that's the ingredients. Let's get started. Okay, first thing we want to do, again, we want to make sure that we cover this beef generously with coarse black pepper and kosher salt. Sure, I get quite a bit on that. Kosher salt, it is a big piece of meat, so they always say use twice as much as you think you need. You can rub that in a little bit. Again, make sure it's thoroughly covered. Turn it over. Do the other side. Salt. Again, don't be afraid to use too much. After all, it is 2.5 pounds. Let's get that coated real well. Then what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and go over to the Dutch oven and we're going to sear that meat. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, next we're going to take about, well, first what I have here is a Dutch oven. Then I'm going to sear the beef in. I'm going to get that really hot, and I'm going to take probably about maybe 3 tablespoons of, I use grapeseed oil. It has a very little flavor and it's a higher temp oil. You can use olive oil if you want to. We're just going to sear that meat here in a minute once this gets good and hot. Okay, now that we got this good and hot, we'll put our meat in there. And again, we're going to sear it about probably 6-7 minutes on each side. We want it to get it nice and brown on both sides. Okay, once we have it seared good, 5-7 minutes on one side, we're going to try to flip it here. Now this is a big piece of meat, so I might lose absolute control of this. Give it a flip. Good enough. Looks good. Could have browned just a little bit more, but that would be fine. And we'll be back once that's done. We'll be back. Okay, now that that is seared for about 6-7 minutes on the other side, what you want to do is you want to take this out and place it in a bowl. Just set it aside, turn down to low heat. Now, given that this is a cast iron Dutch oven, it will really retain the heat. So I turned it down on low probably about a minute ago. So next, what we're going to do, first of all, I apologize. I left out one ingredient. You can pause the video here. It calls for about 2 tablespoons of flour. So we'll pause the video here for a minute and then we'll be right back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make just a little roux here. We're going to start out again with about 2 tablespoons of all-purpose white flour. And then what we want to do, really the whole objective is to deglaze that bottom pan. So we're going to mix this around a little bit, deglaze it. Get that all worked out. You want to get all that stuff scraped off the bottom. Looking pretty good. Don't worry about if you have a few lumps. Again, this is going to be simmering for 4 or 5 hours, so that shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to go ahead and just add in a little bit of the beef stock, just to break that up a little bit. And then really try to get this all loosened up on the bottom. Again, you want to make sure you have it on low heat, and if you have a heavy pan or cast iron pan, you might want to again turn it down on low ahead of time, because it really retains that heat. And again, don't worry about the lumps, they will dissolve. Main thing is to get the bottom of the pan cleaned up. That's where all the flavor is. Okay, have that. Now that you have that, you can go ahead and pour in the rest of your stock. Again, this is a 1-quart box. Depending on the size of your pan and how big your piece of beef is will determine how much stock you'll need. Again, you just want the stock up to about the top. You can turn your heat back up. We'll mix that around a little bit. Let's do that. And we'll come back with adding the other ingredients. Okay, we can go ahead and add in our beef back in. And what I am going to do, I'm going to add, in a minute, I'm going to add a little bit more stock. But meanwhile, we'll start putting in the remaining ingredients. Okay, just as I talked about with the garlic, all we want to do, this is not peeled. We just want to puncture it. Again, it's going to be simmering for quite some time. Just make a little puncture in these. Slippery cover is kind of hard to get a hold of. That's all you want to do. Yeah, okay. Skin came off of that one, that's fine. Just kind of make a puncture. That's all we need to do. Okay, we're back here. The pot roast is beginning to simmer. What we're going to do is just add a little bit more stock from that second container. I'm going to get it just up there a little bit more. That's probably about good right there. Also, what you can do, we could have done it before, but it's okay to do it now. Add your au jus in, the package of au jus. Then we'll work that around, stir it around a little bit, get it mixed up. Again, this is going to be simmering so long, not going to hurt anything if you put it in now or versus when you put in the first quart of beef broth. So that will be fine. Now what you can do, go ahead and add the garlic that we punctured, the 3 cloves, 4 cloves, all to your taste. And also add in your little sprig of thyme and rosemary. Put that in. And now all we need to do is to bring this up to a simmer. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, folks, now that we have the pot roast at a simmer, we're just going to put our lid on that. And we're going to keep that simmering. Keep an eye on it once in a while. We do not want it to go to a roaring boil. So we just want it to simmer for about 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes. And we'll come back and check it then. See you in a little bit. Also, you notice we haven't put in the vegetables yet. Just cover those up, put those back in the refrigerator, and we're going to put those in probably about the last hour. Yes, and that's after 2 hours and 30 minutes. The vegetables will only need an hour at most to cook, so we're going to hold those off till the end. See you then. Okay, we're back now after about 2.5 hours. The timer just went off. The pot roast is coming along very well. Still not falling off the, I can't say falling off the bone, there's no bone in it. Not falling off completely. I'd say about another 40 to 50 minutes, maybe up to an hour. So at this point in time, we'll go ahead and add our vegetables in. Again, about the last 40 minutes to an hour, you want to put your vegetables in. They are have been refrigerated, so it will cool down the stock a little bit. So it'll take it a while to get it back up simmering again. So I would probably give it a good 50 minutes to an hour with the vegetables in there. Make sure we get those stirred around a little bit. There we go. I'll probably crank up the heat a little bit to get it simmering again, and then put it back down, or to where it's just simmering again, and put the lid back on it. So we'll come back in about, I'm going to set the timer probably for about 50 minutes, and we'll check it then. Okay, here we are after about 4 hours. Our vegetables are cooked down. Everything's ready to go. Now what we're going to do, we're going to remove everything out of the pot. We want to take everything out the vegetables, because what we're going to do now is we can keep this under foil, but what we're really going to do is we're going to reduce the stock at least half. Trust me, I know it takes patience. You're ready to eat it and ready to taste it, but trust me, it's well worth the time it takes to reduce the stock down. So now that we have most everything out, I don't have the patience to get every little last morsel out of there. Now that we have that done, let me set this aside. And again, what you want to do is to turn up your heat a little bit, probably go up to a medium high, and we really want to work down that stock. We have a ways to go. Let's see how long it takes. My guess is to reduce by half. We got about, what, an inch of liquid there. It probably will take on high, and you can obviously leave the lid off so it evaporates quicker and reduces quicker, but let's just get that to a good small boil, roaring simmer, and we'll get it down about half. So we'll come back here when we get to that point. My guess it probably will take a good 15-20 minutes. Okay, after about 15-20 minutes reducing the stock, I think we got a pretty good consistency. You don't need it like gravy necessarily, unless you'd like it like gravy, but I think this is reduced enough. We'll turn the heat off at this point in time, and then the next thing we'll do is we'll plate it. Okay, now what we're going to do last is we're going to plate this, put some of the wonderful pot roast in there. We're going to grab some of the vegetables, add some vegetables in there. Then what we'll do is we will grab and get some of that wonderful gravy that we made. Pour that right on top. And there you go. There you have it. Pappy's pot roast. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.